Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima, and I am here to just ramble on for a bit. You see, by the time you see this video, it'll be roughly December 25 in Australia, which is where I live, obviously, so it'll be Christmas morning, and pretty much everywhere else it'll be Christmas night, like somewhere near 10 p.m, or I don't really know, just time zones in the world are weird, but yeah, it'll either be Christmas morning or Christmas Eve or Christmas morning, depending on if you watch this after you go to sleep or something. I don't know. So I just figured that since there'll be a lot of PlayStation Vitas either being given out or opened, or at least I bloody hope there would be, I'd go on a little bit of a, not so much a rant, just as a discussion about how things went this year and how things are looking next year, purely because next year is looking a hell of a lot better than this year, I have to say. But thankfully, since next year looks pretty good, we don't have to worry about what's already come out that much, but oh well, I'll talk about it anyway. So, this is a bit of an unscripted rant video, if you couldn't tell by the fact that I'm kind of trying to stall for time while my brain gets itself in order, but yeah, it's going to be a roughly just off-the-cuff sort of thing, and I'm not going to spend too long talking about anything in particular, but, well, we'll just get to that. So, figured I'll start talking about what I like the most this year, and I'm not a fan of doing things like, you know, top 10 Vita games 2015. I mean, like, I know they get a ton of views, and therefore that would earn me a lot more subscribers compared to doing something else, but, you know, I'm not really a fan of spamming people like that. You know, it just sounds so clickbaity and unappealing that I just don't like doing it that much. So, this video is probably just going to be called, I ran on for about an hour or so about how we did this year and how next year's looking, but nevertheless, might as well get started on some of the games that I like this year, and I'm not going to be doing this in any particular order, other than just a random bloody order for whatever bloody reason. There's no, like, numbering or ranking to this. This is just games I really, really liked this year, and, well, we'll just leave it at that. Like, I got nothing else. These are just the games that I really liked, and I would, if I had to make, like, a huge pile of Vita games, I would put these games on the top row. So, anyway, here we go. These are in no particular order, not release date, not nothing. So I'm just going to do the order I've got them written down here. So first of all is Darius Burst. Now, Darius Burst is wonderful, and for a moment I didn't think I was actually going to get to talk about this game this year, mainly because Darius Burst was supposed to come out next year in Japan, like the physical version at least, and I wasn't going to get on and get the digital version because my second Vita is broken, so unfortunately I won't be able to do that, but yeah, I didn't think we were going to be getting this year, and then they announced the surprise localization where, surprise, you're actually getting it earlier than Japan, and we got it earlier than Japan, and it was fucking fantastic, I have to say. Darius Burst is probably one of the best scrolling shooters I've ever played. It's very minimalistic, and the main variety in the gameplay comes from swapping between the 8 ships, but the 8 ships are so varied in their gameplay styles and the ways they can take on the bosses that it's just a really, really fun time trying to work out all the bosses' patterns and all the stage patterns and working how best to manipulate the game using whatever particular ship you have at the time, and it is a wonderful little game. It runs really well, it has hundreds of enemies, lots of bullets, and just playing it is just fantastic. And then you get into the bloody arcade modes, which are bloody ultra wide, like 32 by 9 on a Vita screen. It's a terrible idea, it shouldn't work, but for God's sake, it actually does. How does that happen? I do not know. It's wonderful. It's bloody wonderful. I love Darius Burst, and the fact that more people haven't bought it yet is absolutely shocking to me, because the Vita version is actually the cheapest version, would you believe? And they still don't... Yeah, it's just... Look, the game costs $40, which is a lot for some people. I can understand that, but Jesus Christ, the amount of shit you get. You get the Chronicle modes, 3,000 bloody stages. You get the normal arcade mode, the original mode, or whatever it is, where you go through the 3 stages at once, and then you've got the bloody, what was it? Then you've got the bloody Chronicle Saviors mode, which has 180 something stages in it and actually takes up the whole screen. So there's a lot of stuff to do there, but yeah, that price is just killing it for a lot of people, and it really shouldn't. That game is so good, but yeah, anyway. We'll just move on from that because I don't want to spend too long talking about anything in particular because we do have a fair amount to go through. Earth Defense Force 2! Hell yes! Like, as I said before in my previous video, if you don't watch my channel that often, you know, I don't know why you're watching this if you don't watch my channel that often, but anyway, Yeah, Earth Defense Force 2 is my favorite Earth Defense Force game, and it's probably one of my top 10 games of all time, purely because it's like the best Earth Defense Force game. I have actually been working my way through 4.1, and it's probably still going to stay below EDF 2, but admittedly, a lot of that is probably nostalgia goggles, but whatever. I love EDF 2, and EDF 2 Invaders from Planet Space is a fantastic localization of it. A couple of things have changed I'm not particularly a fan of, but at the same time, even the developers came out and said that EDF 2 and EDF 3 and 4 are technically in different realities, or they're just different takes on the same concept, so it's not too bad to have a couple of differences between the games, but I will admit I do miss calling the Pale Wing the Wing Diver, or whatever the bloody hell it is. It's a little bit confusing, I must say. They've got different names, like, why call him the Infantryman? I'm used to him being called the Ranger, but whatever. Still fantastic for just blowing up hundreds and hundreds of ants, and it runs great, and it's got good online multiplayer where I absolutely beat the bejesus out of Xseed. Did you see that live stream? I actually recorded that live stream and put it up on my own channel, and then the day before that they put it up on their own channel, so I'm like, bugger it, I'll just keep it unlisted. But I beat the ever-loving bejesus out of everyone they had on hand at Versus, so I'm kind of proud of that. But, oh well. Yeah, that game's still fantastic, and yeah, it's definitely worth picking up, and I'll have to pick up a physical copy when it comes out here in Australia, just so I can have 5 different copies of the bloody thing, because, yes, I own 4 copies of EDF 2. I love that game that much, but, oh well, moving along. Tukiden Kiwami. I admittedly really like hunting games, except for Monster Hunter. I know it sounds weird, like, I have played a bit of Monster Hunter, and I'm not too turned off by it, but at the same time, it's just so heavy and slow that I'm not a fan of the combat, not as much as I am a fan of, like, Soul Sacrifice Delta or Tukiden Kiwami. And hearing that Monster Hunter is actually going to go a tiny bit in the direction of Tukiden with, like, some really flashy and fast movesets makes me want to go try Monster Hunter X, but I'll have to wait and see if that actually comes out over here, because I'm not playing the Japanese version, even though I'm probably going to get like a Sky 3DS Plus at some point or something, I don't know. But anyway, Tukiden Kiwami is more Tukiden, and I actually really liked all the weapons they added, like the sword and the gun. And the gun was the most interesting thing for me. Like the rifle was fantastic, just being able to shoot stuff at really long range, and then there was that gigantic ass club, which was the slowest thing in the entire game, but then it was like you did massive damage to everything, so it was worth keeping one around. And it was just, yeah, the 3 weapons in the game really added to the diversity of the game's weapon pool, and of course I added more monsters and stuff to take out, and it's just, I mean, it's more Tukiden, which I am definitely a fan of, so no arguments from me there. And the fact that we're getting Tukiden 2 next year, and it's going to have a little bit more of an open world feel to it, I can't wait. I just hope they keep all the weapons of Tukiden Kiwami, because I would love to take around like a Naginata, a rifle, a club, and blade, chain, and sickle, and just beat the shit out of everything. Like, my favorite thing to do in Tukiden 1 was chain and sickle the shit out of everything. But with the rifle and the Naginata, I don't have to just restrict myself to that anymore, which is great. So yeah, Tukiden Kiwami, well worth buying at full price and just like slamming through it. That game's fantastic. Super Beat Sonic. Oh man, Super Beat Sonic, this game is fantastic again, and I really need to get around to giving it another shot, because they did patch it a couple of times, but I've been waiting for the DLC to come out. They said they were going to release DLC on day 1, and they still haven't brought it out. It's the end of the bloody year. Oh well, but nevertheless, Super Beat Sonic is, well, probably the Vita's best rhythm game at the moment, purely because Siders Lambda isn't on the PlayStation Store anymore, because they took down PlayStation Mobile, which is really disappointing, but yeah, it is probably the Vita's best rhythm game, purely because it's just so unbelievably satisfying to play. And it's not like Persona 4 Dancing All Night, where the presentation gets in the way and there's a story mode which just treads all over the ground. No, it's just pure music game, pure music gameplay, online leaderboards to prove your worth, and it just has a ton of different songs and variety, which I really like. I really like Super Beat Sonic, because it's just, it gets right to the point and stays there for the entirety of the time you were playing. And DJ Max Technical Tune also did that, and, you know, I liked it for that as well. So, yeah, I'm quite a fan of that, and I quite like it indeed. But absolutely worth picking up, and I'm hoping that they fix that timing issue, but at the same time, I think I've figured out why I had the issue with the buttons not responding in the first place, because my left analog stick on the Vita I use for my recordings and all that seems to be drifting on me from time to time, and I think that drifting is just enough to set off the game to not recognize some of my button presses. I can't be sure, but oh well, I'll have to just get another Vita at some point. But you know how much those bloody things cost? It cost me like 3 months of ad revenue to pick up another one of those, and to be fair, I really should do that because I'm running on the one Vita right now, and if it gets damaged, I'm screwed. But we'll take care of that eventually anyway. So moving on, because you know, got to move on at some point. Shovel Knight, hell yes. Who doesn't bloody love Shovel Knight? Like, I got this day one when it came out on PC because I'm a huge fan of Castlevania, and I actually missed the Kickstarter by like 2 days, which was really disappointing to me because I didn't even realize it existed until I can't even remember who it was that brought it up. But nevertheless, Shovel Knight, brilliant. It's brilliant platformer, brilliant design, brilliant stages. I still haven't gotten around to playing Plague of Shadows. I'm pretty sure that came out on Vita. But just as a platformer, as a retro recall platformer, it was great. Absolutely great. Fantastic. And I don't think I even finished the main mode. I played it for like 2 hours and I got a massive just retro nostalgia kick, and that was more than enough for me to say you should buy this game immediately. It was a bloody brilliant game. But yeah, that's definitely worth picking up. Same with Geometry Wars 3, which is also a fantastic port. 60 FPS, fluid as hell, looks amazing, has a ton of content behind it. And that game's like staying on my Vita forever because it's bloody tiny, just like Shovel Knight was. My god, those two games are just fantastic examples of what you can do on Vita if you put the effort into it. Those two games are just great little... They're tiny in both like file size and just, you know, pick up and play level style things so that you can play them anytime you like. And also you can just sit down and just, you know, grind them out for 4 hours if you feel like it and you've got a plug nearby. Wonderful. Absolutely two wonderful games right there. And they come recommended to anybody who picks up a Vita because they'll probably fit on the Vita Slim's internal memory, so you don't even need a memory card for them, which is great. Which is absolutely great. So, yeah, absolutely. And then, like, the final game I'll put on my absolute top tier recommends is Trails of Cold Steel, purely because I've been playing that for like 7 to 8 hours recently, and that game is something else entirely. I mean, I'm getting the Persona vibe from it. It's not as strong, but I mean, it's a really, really good RPG, and it makes me want to keep playing it, which means I have to go play Trails in the Sky first and second chapter, and good lord, hell knows I need to go through and play those, but they're going to take me like, what, 50 hours each? And I still have Final Fantasy VII to play through, because I haven't played through that bloody game yet. Good lord, it's going to be a very, very busy start of 2016, which is even more annoying because we've got heaps of games coming in 2016. But yeah, Trials of Cold Steel is probably going to be one of my top games of the year purely because the first 7 hours impressed me that much. So yeah, that's certainly a thing. Got a lot of other games too to talk about. Like, there are some... I wouldn't put these at the top of the Vita pile personally. Like, some people probably would. And I wouldn't blame you because they're all bloody good games, right? But at the same time, they're not at the top of my pile. But, I mean, if you like these sorts of games and, you know, you prefer them over these other ones that I've just listed, especially Darius Burst, because, you know, $40. But I love Darius Burst so much. Please buy Darius Burst if you've got the money to and you like scrolling shooters even remotely, because it is seriously one of the best ones there's been in years. Nevertheless, let's just get on to the games that I liked, but I wouldn't put at the top of the pile. There was Dungeon Travelers 2, which is a great dungeon crawler, but just a bit generic. You got Bastion, which, to be fair, I'm not 100% sure why this isn't at the top of my games pile. There's just something about it that I don't like that much, but admittedly, it is a really well put together game, and I did enjoy what I played of it, and I probably will finish it to get it off my memory card, like sometime in the next week or so, because the next year is going to get very, very busy very, very fast. You got Oli Oli 2, which was just so inhumanly difficult for me. I couldn't even get past like the third set of levels without even doing any of the goals. I just couldn't get through it. I just couldn't, because Jesus Christ. La Milana, which is pretty sure we all know why I didn't put that at the top of the pile, because I can't even get through it because it's a stupid hard game. And not stupid hard in the sense that it's high in difficulty, stupid hard in the sense in that it's like stupidly like complex and attempts to hide itself, and it's just, oh man, it's just wow. That bloody game, guys, I swear. La Mulana, yeah, oh, that's a good game, and I've completely gone and said that again because I'm an idiot. Steins Gate. Steins Gate. Bloody visual novels. I mean, I do like my reading, but Jesus Christ, it takes a while to get through Steins Gate. It's just, wow, it is massively long. And considering that we got like 4 or 5 visual novels this year, and like 4 of them were Otome games, which I don't plan on playing, but at the same time, I can understand why someone else would like them. I'm just not a fan of them. Sorry. But yeah, there's so many visual novel games that I can't believe anyone would realistically have time to get through them. So I don't even have a job other than this. I mean, this pays my broadband bill, and so it's just kind of ridiculous because I can't see any regular person having time to get through Steins Gate. That's just insane. And Orishika, I actually really liked Orishika, but again, something about it just makes it not one of my favorite games this year. But at the same time, I could see the right kind of person who wants to raise their family tree and slowly pass down all their generics and make their family bigger. I can imagine people just having a lot of fun with that. Some people could have a lot of fun with that, and which is why I don't want to. And it's actually really well constructed and put together. So it's like, I would feel really bad leaving it off this list while at the same time, like, not putting it at the top. So it's just, yeah, if you like the idea of building your family slowly and slowly and slowly while all your party members are just being constantly swapped out, so you need to be constantly just adapting your strategies and working your way through the dungeons and all that, I would fully recommend going after that, probably because it's a really good idea. If you like the sound of that, it's probably a good idea too. And then there's a few other games that I can't remember off the top of my head, like there was that Monster Bag game, which was really cute. Oh man, I loved that game. I loved how little of that I played, but again, it's just a puzzle-y game, and you know, puzzle games aren't my thing, not too heavily anyway. Element 4i or 4L, whatever it was, that game was good. I remember that. That was a very fun little physics-based platformer. That Metal Slug 3 port was great, but that really needed to be like a Metal Slug Collection port with online play and stuff instead of just Metal Slug 3, is like brought up a while ago because, you know, I'm always going to bring up that game was a bloody mistake because they really needed to have more than one game, but nevertheless, there were a fair few good releases this year. It just wasn't that great compared to last year, and compared to next year, it's going to be a bit of a down year in the sort of dip of PlayStation Vita titles, but oh well. Now to talk about the games I didn't like, and this is the part where everybody starts unsubscribing because they know exactly what bloody games I'm going to talk about at this point. Oh boy. I know that a lot of you people don't like to hear that I didn't like Persona 4 Dancing All Night, but Jesus Christ, I don't understand how anyone, like, had any more than just a passing, what's the word I'm looking for? A passing, just, you know, good feeling towards it. I mean, I can understand liking some of the music, but there was some music in that game that was just literally noise. It was just literally some sort of background noise, and it gave me a headache. It was the most ridiculous thing ever, and they had to go and, you know, give us the review copies, and then they didn't actually patch in the things like the online leaderboard or the LNR scratching or anything that made any sort of sense until like a day or two before the game was due to come out. So that was really annoying as well, because I imagine that would have influenced a bunch of people's reviews. I mean, sure, some of the things that I talked about that I didn't like probably would have brought the game up from like a 6 to a 7 in some reviews or something like that, but at the same time, it is kind of annoying that they patch like some of the biggest problems the game has after the reviewers are probably done with it at that point. So it's just, God, I don't know why they did that, but oh well. Yeah, Persona 4 Dancing All Night just wasn't that good, guys. It really wasn't. I mean, it wasn't that satisfying of a rhythm game. The background distractions could get annoying, and the game really had a problem holding a singular tone. It was just weird like that. I don't know why that game turned out the way it did. It could have turned out a lot better, and the story mode was just, like, no development of the characters that are actually important, and the characters that weren't important, like the ones that were important to Dancing All Night's story, just, like, we'll never see them again. That's the thing. We will never see these characters again. We barely had enough time to get any sort of emotional investment into any of them. And the way Persona 4 worked was that you had a lot of time to meet up with the characters, learn their strengths and their weaknesses, and learn to empathize with them as characters. With Persona 4 Dancing All Night, they tried to do that in 1/10 of the time frame, and it just doesn't work. So, yeah. Persona 4 Dancing All Night was just horribly, horribly disappointing, I must say. Same thing with Corpse Party, Blood Drive. Ugh. Man, I have already done a rant on this one that is stupid long, and I forced myself through the game just for the point of knowing how it all ended, and I could not have been more disappointed at the results. So, I'm not going to spoil it just in case you haven't played it yet, but there is a video on my channel where I spend nearly an hour ranting about the second half of that game, which was some of the most narratively trite game I have ever played in my entire life, with just the slightest glimmers of hope of something great, which is really disappointing because the same team that did that were also the same team that did the original Corpse Party. So it's like, where did it all go wrong? I don't even know. But yeah, Corpse Party Blood Drive is just in a void. Pretend the last chapter of Book of Shadows doesn't exist and you'll be golden. Anyway, moving along to another game I didn't like this year. Danganronpa, another episode. I still haven't gone past chapter 2. I haven't played that game since I did the video on it because, man, I understand why people are like, you didn't play through the whole game so you can't really give your a full opinion on it. And you know what? I agree, you're right. But the game gave me no reason to keep playing, so I didn't fucking bother. The game's story was just so trite and boring that I just could not be bothered to go any further than the second chapter because I already knew all the characters that are important, what happened to them, and all the kids, never seen them before, probably weren't going through the Danganronpa 2, so what's the point? It just all the mystery was gone. Every last speck of it was gone, and that's what kept me going through Danganronpa 1 and 2, and that's why Danganronpa 3 is probably going to be awesome. What was my mouth trying to do there? I don't know. But I had no investment in Danganronpa by the time I did my video on it. Absolutely none. No investment in that game whatsoever. So I could not help but be disappointed at the fact that that game was just a pile. And the shooting mechanics really wouldn't have served themselves to Danganronpa very well anyway. And, well, they didn't for the first chapter or so. Could have easily been told through a visual novel style or something like that. And you know what's annoying? The actual Danganronpa 2 story isn't going to be summed up or done inside Danganronpa V3 because Danganronpa V3 is going to be like a completely new thing. A completely new setting, a completely new cast, a completely new all that. And they're going to do it through an anime. And I don't know if we're going to get the anime over here, which is going to be... Well, we probably are because it's NIS America. But we probably just aren't going to get to see that for a while, which is really disappointing. And just to round off my disappointments of the year here, I've got 3 games to talk about, and I'm just going to play footage of all 3 on the screen at the same time, which is Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, Space Hulk, and Resident Evil Revelations 2. Now, there's one very big reason I didn't like any of these games. Like, all of these games had flaws, and some pretty big ones too, I must say, but I could have actually enjoyed them, and at the very least, not put them on this list if it wasn't for one particular reason. They all perform like shit. They are some of the worst performing games on the Vita this year. They are just awful. All of them are just averagely awful on average. It's just, man, it just makes you want to go and slap the person who made them. It's like, why did you not actually make these playable? But, man, it's just, they all run so much like shit that I found myself not wanting to play them. Like, Resident Evil Revelations 2 is definitely the worst one of the bunch here, because DDR8 Empires was still somewhat playable, if not a bit shit, and Space Hulk was turn-based, and the low frame rate came through, like, with the cameras and all that, because, again, turn-based, you just had to watch, and the frame rate would drop to 0, and it was like, eh. But Resident Evil Revelations 2, the speed of that game, and the fact that just, like, the frame rate and the really slow animations because of the low frame rate and all that just made that game feel so much worse than it actually deserves to. And I've almost been half tempted to pick it up on like PS4 or something and try it on PS4 Remote Play just to see how much better it is than the Vita version. Purely because the Vita version is just a sack of shit. But I am not going to do that because I'm not rich. And I really wish I was, because that would mean I could buy everything and check it all out here and maybe buy like thousands of dollars worth of advertising and just, you know, send it all over YouTube and get myself 20,000 subscribers. But yeah, that was just a bit of a disappointing thing, because admittedly, the majority of the games I was looking forward to, and oh yeah, I almost forgot Sword Art Online Lost Song, because, you know, that game was just an average grind fest. Like, literally, all you do in that game is grind. You just watch numbers slowly go up against monsters that don't even really change that much. Like, I was playing one of the very end game missions, and it was the exact same monsters, and I could actually do some damage to them with like a level 100 something character, even though they were level 1000. So yeah, that's just what a weak excuse for an RPG. But anyway, I just have to say, this was one of the most disappointing years of the Vita so far. I mean, we had some really great games. Like, we had the Tukidenki one, we had EDF2, we had Doria's Burst, we had a bunch of good indie ports, we had a bunch of good dungeon crawlers, except for, what was it, Operation Abyss. But yeah, Operation Abyss wasn't bad, it just wasn't great. It was worse than Demon Gaze. So that's what I thought anyway. But we had a few good indie ports, we had a good year for visual novels, and a few good games came out. Just saying, it's not one of the best years the Vita has had. But, oh well, I'm gonna actually spend the next 25 minutes or so of this video talking about games that I am looking forward to next year, because fuck yeah. I put together this list, and then I looked over it again, and I'm like, despite the fact that I left a few games off here, this looks to be one of the best Vita years since it came out, if not the best, purely because of just the quality of what's coming up here. So, let's start talking about the games that are coming up. And let's start talking about the game that I'm actually really fucking excited for. They announced Gundam Extreme Versus Force a few days ago. Yes! Yes! The first Gundam game that they've bothered to localize in years that wasn't a Dynasty Warriors spin-off is one of the bloody Vita games. It's just insane. Like, why only the Vita game? Like, why didn't they localize Full Boost or Maxi Boost or whatever the hell it's called now? I don't know why they chose Extreme Versus Force. Maybe it's because it's the one that's got that Asian localization that comes out in February, which I actually had to go and cancel my pre-order for. But man, fuck yes! I've been a huge fan of just Gundam, except for the anime. I haven't actually watched any of the anime yet, but considering I've got a big pile of just Gundam boxes just in my corner, which I've been slowly but surely working through, building 144s and 100s, it's just the fact that we get to see a Gundam game over here that actually looks interesting with some strategy elements in it and all that. It's great. It looks great, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to be fantastic in terms of the modes, but, you know, 2-on-2 battle with ad hoc. I'm hoping that they patch in online play, but we'll just have to hold our breath. And by hold our breath, I mean not hold our breath, because if I hold my breath for the next 20 minutes, I'll probably pass out. Nevertheless, also, Gundam Breaker 3 got announced last week. Fuck yes! Man, I'm really liking all the Gundam games that are getting announced for Vita this week. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm so looking forward to Gundam Breaker 3 now, because I played an absolute ton of Gundam Breaker 2 this year. Like, I played, like, through half the game last year, and then this year I picked it up again because they released a bunch of downloadable content for it, so I ended up just playing through all of that, and it was just, oh man, it's so good. And I can't wait for Gundam Breaker 3, because they got the bloody chibi ones in there too, so not chibi, I think they're called Super Deformed, but yeah, either way, it's just, oh man, that's going to be brilliant. And yeah, and they announced God Eater 1 and 2 this week, Resurrection and Rage Burst, so we get to play both of those at the same time. But Zero Time Dilemma comes out. Oh man, I'm getting the bad feeling that they're going to release, like, God Eater 1 and 2, Attack on Titan, and Zero Time Dilemma all in the same week, and it's just gonna be completely insane. But yeah, God Eater 1 and 2 is just, it's good to see that we're actually getting God Eater games again, especially since we've been waiting so long for them to get announced for localization. But now that they're actually coming out, I can give it a realistic go, because I think I played God's Eater Burst a bit on PSP, but I don't remember anything about that game, so oh well. Then there's the HD remake of Odin Sphere, which, you know, it's what the, never mind. Then there's a HD remake of Odin Sphere, which is, it's a Vanillaware game. Vanillaware haven't put out a bad game yet, so I have full trust in them to make this two-dimensional combat platformer, which sounds very familiar if you're fundamentally aware of what Vanillaware does. It's going to be good because it's Vanillaware, an Atlas, and they're doing a giant-ass special edition for it. So, yeah. Then there's Trillion, God of Destruction from Idea Factory. And normally I wouldn't be too excited for an Idea Factory game. I mean, Idea Factory's games aren't bad. I just haven't found anyone game in particular that I've really, really liked. I mean, Hyperdimension Neptunia U wasn't that bad. We do have Hyperdimension Neptunia. What was it? Blank plus Neptune versus Zombies, whatever it is. But Trillion God of Destruction is actually really interesting because you have 8 or 9 characters that are like your sergeants in your army, and you like make friends with them and you train them up to send them up against the God of Destruction, who literally has 1 trillion HP and is constantly working to destroy your society. And that is actually like one of the most interesting concepts for a role-playing game that I've heard of in years. So I can't help but be excited for that purely because it just sounds so awesome. Like, really, that sounds awesome. Like, just slowly building up your army and getting to know them and actually setting them up and actually having them die against Trillion, because they do die. They die permanently and they don't come back, and you can actually, like, make relationships with them, which is, like, I read the Japanese reviews. Like, some site posted Japanese reviews. I think it was Gamatsu or something. And I read the Japanese reviews, and they all made it sound like an actually really good game. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I will be playing it. I actually have a copy of the Japanese version here, but I don't want to play it now that there's the American version coming out. Got a lot of games that have the American version. Oh, by the way, I pre-ordered Extreme Versus Force and it was announced for American localization 2 days later. You're fucking welcome. I hope I didn't waste that Play Asia representative's time. Anyway, moving along. Samurai Warriors 4 Empires. It's Samurai Warriors 2 Empires, but it's like Samurai Warriors 4 style. And considering I actually really like Samurai Warriors 2 Empires, this is going to be one hell of a treat. I mean, I already played Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires on PlayStation 4, so I knew that game wasn't going to be fantastic right off the bat, but I follow Koei Warriors, which is the forum, and which is a forum around Koei games, take my Koei games, and they talked about all the Vita versions of the games and all the Japanese release games, and they had some pretty good praises to sing about Samurai Warriors 4 Empires, saying it was basically the same Samurai Warriors 2 Empires, which I loved. So we'll have to give that a go. Yeah, absolutely. Then there's Senran Kagura Festival Versus, because hell yes, like, Shinobi Versus was great. Like, I wasn't expecting that game to be as good as it was, but the lighthearted, fluffy tone and the not overly focusing on the jiggling boobies, but the just general, like, they're there and sometimes funny stuff happens to them. And of course, you know, the stripping naked thing, which is actually kind of funny when you think about it. But yeah, I loved that game because it was just so well balanced and the combat was actually great and all the characters were significantly different from each other. And then now they're announcing they've got a new one on the way, which is probably going to be a fair bit better, and it's going to have more characters and it's going to have more levels, and it actually has like 10-player online multiplayer on the PS4 version, but unfortunately we don't get that, so I don't know why I brought it up. But it's gonna, I mean, more Senran Kagura. More Senran Kagura Shinobi Versus. Like, that's not a bad thing. I'm looking forward to it. Awesome. Attack on Titan by Tecmo Koei. Like, I can't help but think, should I be excited or should I be nervous? Because I love Attack on Titan's first few episodes. Then it gets boring as shit. Yep. I actually do watch a fair bit of anime. I wonder if there's going to be like a One Punch Man game. Like, I could imagine One Punch Man working as a Dynasty Warriors game, except you don't get Saitama until like you've finished every other stage of every other character. But yeah, anyway, Attack on Titan. I've seen some of the gameplay for it, and it looks a bit weird. But I mean, it's a Tecmo Koei game, and I haven't honestly disliked a Tecmo Koei game for like months. Like, I've played every Tecmo Koei game that's come out, and the only games I didn't really like was Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires. And to be fair, I had a really good reason for that. It ran like shit, but nevertheless. Attack on Titan, hopefully it'll be really good. And then XCOM Enemy Unknown Plus. I'm really worried about this purely because it's an American-made game, so it's probably just going to run like garbage. But, I mean, it's XCOM on the go, which is something that I've really needed. Like, I've tried sitting down to play the PC version of XCOM, Enemy Unknown, and then Enemy Within, and I can't get it. Like, I can't get my head around it. And, I mean, I could probably get my head around it if I had time, but I don't have time to sit in front of my computer for 6 hours trying to figure out how to bloody save my own planet. So, having a portable version of this will be great. I mean, some people might be a bit upset that I don't include, like, Civilization Revolution 2 Plus on this list, but to be fair, I have actually played Civilization 5, and I would love a portable version of Civilization 5, but Civilization Revolution 2 Plus just looks a bit too shrunk down for me. XCOM Enemy Unknown Plus looks like exactly the same game as XCOM Enemy Unknown on PC, so yeah. I mean, I don't understand why Civ Rev 2 Plus is what's being ported to Vita and not Civ 5. Because Civ 5 came out, like, what, 5 years ago at this point? Surely you'd be able to port it to Vita with a few, you know, like, toning downs here and there. But, yeah, never mind. We'll just move on. But yeah, XCOM Enemy Unknown Plus. I'm looking forward to that. Fair amount, actually. Anyway, the two story games, Danganronpa and Zero Time Dilemma. We know we're getting Zero Time Dilemma, like, in the middle of the year, and then we've got Danganronpa V3, which might not actually come out till 2017, but God knows I'm excited for both of them, because both of those games hooked me in with gigantic hooks and never let me go. And I am just, yeah, I really need to see how Zero Time Dilemma ends. We never thought we were going to see it. It was the Vita community's Shenmue, but, oh, well, then again, we've got a few series like that could probably end up like that, but nevertheless, I'm so looking forward to these two games, and hell yes, just come on, come out soon, please, for the love of God. Don't give me more days to be hit by a bus and never get to experience the end of those two series. That was all the big, like, retail games, and now I'm going to talk about the indies, because, I mean, most of these indies have already come out on something else, but at the same time, I am really looking forward to playing them on the go, which is the bloody point. So, Ascension, Chronicle of the Godslayer. Why is this not out on Vita yet? This should have come out like last year. I'm serious. It should have come out in like 2013. I don't understand why it's taking so long to port over, especially since the mobile versions are being updated constantly with like the new expansions from Ascension. But this really needs to hurry up and come out so I can absolutely kick everyone's ass at it, because I used to love playing Ascension, but I've just been waiting for it to come out on Vita, and it hasn't come out on Vita yet. What the hell, guys? Step up your game. Crypt of the Necrodancer. Just, yeah, this is weird. Like, a roguelike rhythm game. And it looks wonderful, and the soundtrack's great. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Darkest Dungeon. Bend over and take it, why don't I? I've never been very good at hardcore roguelike RPGs, and I mean, that game is just going to make me, like, that game's just going to throw me off a cliff. That's basically what it's going to do, but nevertheless, I'm going to play it anyway. Hyperlight Drifter. This game just looks amazing. Like, every time I look at a trailer for it, every time I look at a screenshot, every time I look at anything, it just looks great. It looks incredible. It looks like just, oh man, I just want to play it so badly. When is it coming out? 2016, they say. God only knows. Paranormal Activity. That game is great. I actually own it on PC, and they did sell the IP rights. The original developers sold the IP rights because one of them went crazy and threatened to kill Gabe Newell. I'm not even joking, that happened. But that game is actually really fun, and to be fair, I mean, it is a little bit repetitive and all that, but at the same time, I really enjoyed what I played of it on PC, and I'm really looking forward for it to come to Vita, because I imagine it'll be a really good fit. But to be fair, I'll have to wait and see. Pier Solar and the Great Architects. It's a Genesis RPG, and I mean, I want to play a game on the Genesis that was made in the late 2000s. Actually, no, I think this came out in 2010, so that'd be 2010, but good lord, just a retro RPG that's based around just, oh man, I don't even know what it's about. It's just a Genesis RPG, and I'm really looking forward to playing it because the art looks really nice. I know, I'm shallow. Shakedown Hawaii. Oh man. Retro City Rampage was great. It was really hard at the very beginning, but when he patched it to add like extra checkpoints and stuff, that was great. So I'm really looking forward to playing this, which is basically the sequel. Yeah, it is basically the sequel, but it's going to be a great game nonetheless. Then we've got Cyril. Admittedly, this game's presentation is utter shite, but at the same time, it actually looks like really good. Having over 300 something creatures that you can breed into your own party and doing all sorts of stuff like that sounds like something I could really get lost in, which is something I look for on the Vita a lot, because getting lost in portable games for me is really, really easy. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing Cyril. And then there's Skullgirls. I'm a huge fan of fighting games, so... Well, I'm not that big of a fan of fighting games, but what fighting games I do play I actually really like. I enjoyed the beta for Street Fighter V. I still have BlazBlue on my Vita, and, you know, Guilty Gear is kicking my ass, but yeah, Skullgirls. I'm just going to add another bloody brick onto that pile, aren't I? And then there's Volgar the Viking, which is just the last game we've got on this list here, but I imagine I'm missing so much that's coming out on Vita next year that I would probably absolutely love, purely because next year is going to be so bloody packed. It's just going to be insane. But yeah, Volgar the Viking is just, man, Volgar the Viking. And that game is so hard, and that's why I love it. It reminds me a lot of the old Castlevania games. It's like, Shovel Knight was like hard but fair. Volgar the Viking is stupid hard. So yeah, I'm probably going to be banging my head against the wall a bit. And there are still games I'm forgetting about. Like, I think I forgot about, what was that game? Salt and Sanctuary. That 2D Dark Souls platformer style thing. That game looks amazing. There's that stupid Super Rude Bear Resurrection game that was like, you're just dying constantly and you use your dead bodies to help you through. There's that World of Final Fantasy game that might actually be good, but it might also be a complete pile of ass. I don't know. Yeah, there's so much that I'm probably missing, and God, next year is going to be a fantastic year. So if you're picking up a Vita now, great timing. I think they're actually doing a price drop soon, but you never know. You never really know. So yeah, I just spent like 42 something minutes talking about what's coming up on Vita, and well, this is going to be a hell of a year, isn't it? It's going to be a pretty damn good year. So this has been Blue Maxima, just one of my off-topic rants. Have a good Christmas, have a good holidays, have a good new year, and I'll see you all in 2015, or the next video I make, which will probably be in the next couple of days. See you all next time.